Thank you very much, everybody. It's a great honor to have President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. of the Philippines, a great family legacy, and highly respected in this country. I know that because I have many friends in the Philippines, and there's great respect, or I couldn't say it, so congratulations.
Thank you.
We're going to be talking about trade. We're going to be talking about war and peace. They're a very important nation militarily, and we've had some great drills lately. We're back with them. I think I can say that the last administration was not getting along with them too well. They didn't get along with anybody. They didn't know. Honestly, they didn't know what they were doing. But we have some fantastic military relationships with the Philippines, and that's been reinstituted. And Pete, I would say that you couldn't be happier, right, with the relationship.
Great partner.
So I just want to say it's an honor to have you. We're going to talk about trade today, and we're very close to finishing a trade deal, big trade deal actually. And we do a lot of business with you. It's a lot of income coming in for both groups. But I was surprised to see the kind of numbers. They're very big, and they're going to get bigger under what we're doing and what we're proposing. And I just want to thank you for being with us. It's a great honor. You and your representative. It's really a great honor. We have a big announcement. AstraZeneca, the big drug company, is going to spend $50 billion, just announced $50 billion in the United States in order to build various places all over the country, big manufacturing plants, pharmaceutical plants all over the country, so that's an honor. And he said they did that because of the election and because of the fact that the tariffs are placed. So they're building their facilities in New York. $50 billion, that's a big investment. And it's going to be a very good investment. I have no doubt about it. So thank you to AstraZeneca. And with that, I'd like to have you say a few words, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Of course, we're all very happy to be here to once again reaffirm the very strong ties between the Philippines and the United States, ties that go back over 100 years. And considering the context in which we live these days, especially in my part of the world, this has evolved into as important a relationship as is possible to have. We must remember that the United States is our only treaty partner in the Philippines, and that has stood us in good stead over the years, certainly through the Second World War, and the cultural memory of all Filipinos, down to even the school children, is that our strongest, closest, most reliable ally has always been the United States. And that is something that we value, that we are grateful for, and that we will continue to foster as we go on. With the leadership of President Trump, I am very confident that we will be able to achieve that. I think it is worthwhile to remember that it was President Trump who, in his first term, characterized the relationship between the Philippines and the United States as ironclad. And that has been necessarily the case since that time that you made that statement, sir. And it is something that the Philippines will always hold close to its heart. Thank you once again, and we are honored, and it is our great pleasure to be here and to visit with the President of the United States. Thank you, sir.
It's my great honor. Any questions, please?
Mr. President?
Yeah, please, go ahead. Go ahead.
Mr. President, do you think that Fed Chair Jerome Powell should resign?
I think he's doing a bad job, but he's going to be out pretty soon anyway. In eight months, he'll be out. But I call him too late. He's too late all the time. He should have lowered interest rates many times. Europe lowered their rate 10 times. We lowered ours none. And it's causing a problem for people that want to buy a home. Look, our economy is so strong now, we're blowing through everything. We're setting records. You know that, you see that. And whether it's the Philippines or anyone else, we're setting records at levels that nobody's ever seen before. But you know what? People aren't able to buy a house because this guy is a numbskull. He keeps the rates too high, and probably doing it for political reasons. The only time I remember him cutting rates, I mean, he cut the rates just before the election to try and help Kamala, or whoever he was trying to help. He probably didn't know. And he's building a building. He's $2.7 billion. They have a $900 million overrun. What is that? And that was given by Biden. That was another Biden deal. And this guy's building this building that's severely overrun. And what does he need the building for? Why does he need space for more people? So they did a big study the other day, and they called all of the great intellects and the great economists and all of the great everything. And it was 71, and only 2 got it right. Me and another gentleman that happens to be very smart. 69 people got it wrong, and the Fed got it wrong, more wrong than anybody. And you know, he has these think tanks, and they build buildings for people that think. And it's really not thinking. It's a little bit of combination of thinking, but it's something you sort of have or you don't have. They don't. The job he's done is just terrible. He ought to raise interest rates. You know, we should be at 1%. We should be leading the world. Instead, we're paying 4%. And if you look at what that means, that's over $1 trillion in interest that we have to pay. That with the striking of a pen, we would be saving more than $1 trillion. Is that right, Scott?
Yes,
Do you have
sir.
anything to say about it?
Yes, sir. I called yesterday and this morning for the Fed to do a big internal investigation to understand not their monetary policy, but everything else. The Fed has had big mission creep, and that's where a lot of the spending's going. That's why they're building these new or refurbishing these buildings. And I think they got to stay in their lane. And I think that based on the way they cut rates last fall, they should be cutting rates now.
It's inconceivable, I know the Fed very well, that they can be spending $2.7 billion to build a building. They don't do anything. It's the greatest job. You show up one day, a half a day, you make a little speech, the economy's doing well, the economy's not doing well, we're going to raise interest. And he's got it wrong. That's why I call him too late, T-O-O, too late. And it's really too bad. But it is affecting people that want to buy houses, and that shouldn't happen.
And Mr. President.
And you know, he should lower them. Those rates should be 3 points lower. That's what they should be, 3 points lower, maybe more than that.
I would like to ask both of you
Yes.
one person. Mr. President Marcos, next year, Philippines is going to be the rotating chair of ASEAN. I wonder how do you plan to balance your relationship between the United States and China? And for President Trump, Kremlin yesterday said if you are going to Beijing in September, they wouldn't rule out a meeting between you and President Putin. Is such a meeting possible? And how soon do you plan to visit China?
Well, we have a lot of meetings possible. President Xi has invited me to China, and we'll probably be doing that in the not too distant future, a little bit out, but not too distant. And I've been invited by a lot of people, and we'll make those decisions pretty soon. Please.
Well, as you say, we are chairing ASEAN for 2026. There is no need, in a sense, to balance, as you characterize as, to balance our relationship within the United States and China, simply because our foreign policy is an independent one, and we are essentially concerned with the defense of our territory and the exercise of our sovereign rights. Now, whether we do this not alone, we need to do this with our partners. And again, our strongest partner has always been the United States. But of course, we are trying to form coalitions and multilateral relations so that those like-minded nations who share the same values as we do, who hew to international law, most specifically the UNCLOS, present that position very clearly to anyone who has intentions of unilaterally changing the world order, and that is how we are guided in that.
And I don't mind if he gets along with China, because we're getting along with China very well. We have a very good relationship. In fact, the magnets, which is a little complex piece of material, but the magnets are coming out, very well. They're sending them in record numbers. We're getting along with China very well, and I don't mind if the president dealt with China, you know, if that's meant, because I think he has to do what's right for his country. I've always said, you know, make the Philippines great again. Do whatever you need to do, but you're dealing with China wouldn't bother me at all.
No, well, now it is something that we have to do in any case,
Yeah.
and certainly that.
What are your comments to the
Mr. President, do you support the Justice Department seeking a new interview with Ghislaine Maxwell? Did you urge the Attorney General to seek?
I don't know anything about it. They're going to what? Meet her?
They're gonna, your Deputy Attorney General has reached out to Ghislaine Maxwell's attorney, asking for a new interview.
Yeah, I don't know about it, but I think it's something that would be, sounds appropriate to do, yeah.
Do you have any concern that your Deputy Attorney General, as your former attorney, would be conducting the interview, given?
No, I have no concern. He's a very talented person. He's very smart. I didn't know that they were going to do it. I don't really follow that too much. It's sort of a witch hunt, just a continuation of the witch hunt. The witch hunt that you should be talking about is they caught President Obama absolutely cold, Tulsi Gabbard. What they did to this country in 2016, starting in 2016, but going up all the way going up to 2020 in the election. They tried to rig the election, and they got caught. And there should be very severe consequences for that. You know, when we caught Hillary Clinton, I said, you know what? Let's not go too far here. It's the ex-wife of a president, and I thought it was sort of terrible. And I let her off the hook, and I'm very happy I did. But it's time to start, after what they did to me, and whether it's right or wrong, it's time to go after people. Obama's been caught directly. So people say, oh, you know, a group. It's not a group. It's Obama. His orders are on the paper. The papers are signed. The papers came right out of their office. They sent everything to be highly classified. Well, the highly classified's been released. And what they did in 2016 and in 2020 is very criminal. It's criminal at the highest level. So that's really the things you should be talking about. I know nothing about the other, but I think it's appropriate that they do go.
May I ask you about that, Mr. President?
Yeah.
Tulsi Gabbard has submitted a criminal referral to the Department of Justice. From your perspective, who should the DOJ target as part of their investigation? What specific figures in the Obama administration?
Well, based on what I read, and I read pretty much what you read, it would be President Obama. He started it. And Biden was there with him, and Comey was there, and Clapper. The whole group was there. Brennan, they were all there in a room. Right here, this was the room. This is much more beautiful than it was then, but that's okay. I have nice pictures up. They came out of the vaults. They were in there for 100 years. This is much more beautiful. We have the Declaration of Independence now in the room, which wasn't here. I guess people didn't feel too good about putting it here, but I do. But you know what? If you look at those papers, they have them stone cold, and it was President Obama. It wasn't lots of people all over the place. It was them too. But the leader of the gang was President Obama, Barack Hussein Obama. Have you heard of him? And except for the fact that he gets shielded by the press for his entire life, that's the one they, look, he's guilty. It's not a question, you know, I like to say, let's give it time. It's there, he's guilty. This was treason. This was every word you can think of. They tried to steal the election. They tried to obfuscate the election. They did things that nobody's ever even imagined, even in other countries. You've seen some pretty rough countries. This man has seen some pretty rough countries, but you've never seen anything like it. And we have all of the documents, and from what Tulsi told me, she's got thousands of additional documents coming. So President Obama, it was his concept, his idea, but he also got it from crooked Hillary Clinton. Crooked is a $3 bill. Hillary Clinton and her group, the Democrats, spent $12 million to Christopher Steele to write up a report that was a total fake report. Took 2 years to figure that out, but it came out that it was a total fake report. It was made up fiction. And they used that. Now, the one thing they weren't able to do was to, and probably the only thing I respect about the press in years is the press refused to write it before the election. They refused to put it in. The Steele report was a disaster. all lies, all fabrication, all admitted, an admitted fraud. She paid $12 million, and the Democrats, for that report to a wise guy named Christopher Steele. He wrote a phony report, and they wanted to get that report in before the election. And I'll tell you what, I talk about all the time, the fake news, how bad it is, but in this case, they wouldn't do it. They saw it, they read it, and they said, we don't believe it. And it was only after, substantially, like a month and a half after the election, that it got printed, and it was a big wisp. It was just like a bang of nothing, because the election had ended. If that report had gotten published by the New York Times or somebody, and I respect the Times for maybe only this, because they're crooked as you can be. They're a terrible paper, a crooked, corrupt paper. But for this one moment, they said, this is bullshit, we can't put this in. And neither could any other paper. Wall Street Journal's a lousy paper, very, very dishonest paper. As you see, I'm suing them for a lot of money because they do things very badly. It's got a nice name, but it's really, in my opinion, it's a terrible paper, and it can be corrupt. But just so you know, they didn't take the Steele report. It was the dossier. Remember the famous dossier? I called it the fake news dossier. The news wouldn't publish it. And I'm amazed. They had 2.5 months. It was finished. 2.5 months. That was supposed to be what was going to happen. And it got published a couple of months after the election. And frankly, nobody cared too much about it. But that was a big thing. No, we caught Hillary Clinton. We caught Barack Hussein Obama. They're the ones. And then you have many, many people under them. Susan Rice. They're all there. The names are all there. And I guess they figured they're going to put this in classified information and nobody will ever see it again, but it doesn't work that way. And it's the most unbelievable thing I think I've ever read. So you ought to take a look at that and stop talking about nonsense, because this is big stuff. Never has a thing like this happened in the history of our country. And by the way, it morphed into the 2020 race. And the 2020 race was rigged, and it was a rigged election. And because it was rigged, we have millions of people in our country. We had inflation. We solved the inflation problem. But millions and millions of people came into our country because of that. And people that shouldn't have been, people from gangs and from jails and from mental institutions, people that we don't want in our country, and people that we're getting out, dangerous people. 11,888 murderers, many of them, 50%, more than 50%, murdered more than one person. I hate to say this with such a distinguished guest, but you know, they asked me a question. I got to answer the question. No, Barack Hussein Obama is the ringleader. Hillary Clinton was right there with him, and so was Sleepy Joe Biden, and so were the rest of them. Comey, Clapper, the whole group. And they tried to rig an election, and they got caught. And then they did rig the election in 2020. And then because I knew I won that election by a lot, I did it a third time, and I won in a landslide. Every swing state won the popular vote. But I won that all the same way in 2020. And look at the damage that was caused.
How crucial is the ammunition hub that the U.S. plans to build in Subic and the Luzon corridor, considering that these will be built in areas that hosts strategic ports as well as military air bases?
You're talking ammunition?
Yes, the U.S. House Congressional Committee on Appropriations approved a budget.
Well, it's very important. Otherwise, we wouldn't have approved it.
Sorry?
Yeah, it's very important. Otherwise, we wouldn't. We need ammunition. We're going to end up in a few months, we'll have more ammunition than any country has ever had. We're going to have more missiles than any country has ever had. We're going to have all the speedy missiles. We'll have the speedy ones, the slow ones, the accurate ones, the ones that are slightly less accurate. We have everything. But we will have more ammunition than any country has ever had. It's very important to me. Okay. Go ahead, please, Red.
Sir, when you say that you're close to making a trade deal, what gaps remain? And for President Marcos, sir, I was just wondering, do you not think that perhaps the Philippines hosting U.S. missile systems could be considered escalatory by China, especially because they can strike seriously by China? Thank you.
Well, it's an honor to be with this gentleman. You know, I've known him, and I've known his family, actually, but I've known him And I assume you're from the Philippines? Are you from the Philippines?
Yes, sir.
That's good. You're very lucky to be from the Philippines, right? It's a great place. But we're going to have a very good relationship. I mean, I know you had some problems with another president, and it was not your fault. It was the president's fault. And the country was maybe tilting toward China, but we untilted it very, very quickly. But you know, you had a country that was tilting toward China for a period of time, and I just don't think that would have been good for you. You can deal with China, you should deal with China, but when I got elected, everything changed, and they came right back to us.
Would you consider extending
Say it again? Yeah, Brian, go ahead.
Oh, Mr. President, I just wanted to piggyback off the
Sorry, I had a
housing.
question to President Marcos.
I'll let you-
Yes. I'm sorry, what was the question again?
It was about whether having U.S. missiles hosted in the Philippines could be considered escalatory by China.
All of what we consider part of the modernization of the Philippine military is really as a response to the circumstances that surround the situation around the South China Sea, and now what we used to refer to as Asia Pacific, which we have expanded now to the Indo-Pacific. And if we would certainly, like in any kind of military spending, we would wish that it wasn't necessary, but it is. And so that is what we are doing. And as an adjunct to the question about the ammunition production, this is actually, the United States is assisting the Philippines in what we call our self-reliance defense program, which is to allow us to be self-reliant and to be able to stand our own 2 feet, whatever the circumstances that occur in the future. And the reason that we have encouraged more interaction with the United States is because it is necessary. And it is not just with the United States. It is with all our neighboring countries, and even countries as far afield as the Scandinavian countries, the EU. And so this is an ongoing process. And again, I will stress the point that we do this because we feel it is necessary.
And don't forget, just as tantamount to what you're asking, the Philippines were loaded up with ISIS and a lot of terrorists, and they were at very, very dangerous point. And during my administration, we went in and we wiped them out, working with the Philippines, but we wiped them out. But if we didn't go in, I don't know what would have happened. I don't know who would be your president right now. But we spent a lot of time and a lot of talent on going into the Philippines and wiping out terrorists. They had a tremendous problem during my administration. And we cleaned it up, we got them out, and now you really have a good, solid country again.
I believe so, yes.
How can you
Mr. President, I want to follow up on the housing question.
Yeah.
We've got no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security. How important is it we have no tax on home sales, capital gains, to unleash the housing market in this country?
Well, we're thinking about that, but would also unleash it just by lowering the interest rates. If the Fed would lower the rates, we wouldn't even have to do that. But we are thinking about no tax on capital gains on houses. And I'm very impressed that you asked that question, because nobody knew that.
Well,
How did you find that out? That's very...
I wonder why there's somebody I'm very close to.
There's a leaker. There's a leaker.
I've also got a question. I find it a very interesting world that we know more about two people at a Coldplay concert just hours after that viral video than we know of Thomas Crooks 1 year after attempting to assassinate you. What is holding back the investigation on Thomas Crooks?
Well, they've reported to me, and they've told me things, and they really say they haven't found anything that was abnormal. I would say this, the Secret Service was very brave, because they were right there, and they jumped on me. They made a mistake. They should have had somebody on that roof, and they should have had communication with the local police, who also, they did a very good job, but they made some mistakes, and we have a whole different group of people now. I don't think anything can happen, but I think we have the best people anywhere in the world right now, and I think they've learned. And, they went into him very, in great detail. They gave me the whole thing. And what can I do? They say that it was just a nut job that was looking to do this. And I spoke with the FBI, the new FBI. I spoke to the FBI, who was the old FBI, I wouldn't have believed a thing they said, because the old FBI under Comey was crooked as hell. He was one of the most crooked. Everybody should read the Horowitz report. Unfortunately, Bill Barr didn't use it. But the Horowitz report, not appointed by me, it was a report on Comey and the FBI. It is one of the worst shots at a human being I think I've ever seen. In fact, the New York Times did an editorial that was one of the worst editorials I've ever seen about anybody. That was about Comey. You ought to go back and get, and Barr didn't use it because he didn't have the guts to use it, or something happened, I don't know. Too bad. He went to Mr. Durham. Instead of doing the Durham, all they had to use is the Horowitz report. And I always felt badly for Horowitz, frankly, because he's a Democrat, I guess. He was appointed by a Democrat. But that report has gotten lost, and it shouldn't be lost. You should all go back. It should be mandatory reading. Go back and read the Horowitz report on Comey and his cronies. And you'll see exactly, we're going to add that to all the stuff that we found. It just confirms it. But what we found is even more so. Now, we found absolute, this isn't like evidence, this is like proof, irrefutable proof that Obama was seditious, that Obama was trying to lead a coup. And it was with Hillary Clinton, with all these other people, but Obama headed it up. And, I get a kick when I hear everyone talks about people I never even heard of. It was this one. No, it was Obama. He headed it up. And it says so right in the papers. Got everything. This is the biggest scandal in the history of our country. And it really goes on to even the auto pen, because it all relates to the same thing. It all started, the same sick minds. You have an auto pen, which is a tremendous, well, we don't have a president, we have an auto pen that signs everything. I'll bet you sign everything. You don't have auto pens. Everybody, who doesn't sign? You're the president of a country. But it's all that whole thing, leading right up to the end of it is the auto pen. And the auto pen was used by people, and Biden knew nothing about it. They were signing documents that he knew nothing about. As an example, they released the Unselect Committee of Liability. The Unselect Committee spent 2 years grilling everybody, and then they destroyed all the evidence. You know why? Because the evidence made them guilty, and he gave them all a pardon. The Cheney, all the scum that was on the Unselect Committee, Cryan, Adam Kinzinger, and Democrats, and he gave them a pardon. Do you have something else, guys?
I was just going to add one more thing on Adam Schiff. Director Pulte reports that Adam Schiff claims he lived in a one-bedroom apartment. Now, how does a family of four, and you're a developer, a very successful developer, how does a family of four live in a one-bedroom apartment?
No, it looks like Adam Schiff really did a bad thing. They have him. Now, let's see what happens. It's not up to me. It's not up to, I stay out of it purposely. But it's mortgage loan fraud. It's a big deal. He defrauded banks and insurance companies and the federal government. But it's very simple. It's mortgage loan fraud. And you're right. It's a lot of people to live in a one-bedroom apartment, right? But he put it down. But he has a lot of other things far worse than that. So, no, Adam Schiff, they have him 100% on mortgage fraud. Now, if it was anybody else in this room except you would have no problem. But anybody else in this room, you'd have a problem. I'd have a problem.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 45th and 47th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I'd gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land.
Thank you very much, everybody. What a great song that is, but we'll cut it a little short because we have some business to discuss. What a group of smart ones we have in front of me today. That's about as good as it comes. Up here, the brain power, the greatest power of them all, the brain power. Well, I'm thrilled to be here with so many tech leaders and luminaries as we take historic action to reassert the future which belongs to America, always has belonged to America. We just lost sight of it on occasion. And I just want to start by stating that we've just concluded our big trade deal with Japan and numerous other countries in addition, as you know. But on the Japan deal, because it was literally just signed, letter was just signed, it gives us a sort of signing bonus. So I'll bring it into sports talk, a signing bonus. Like you have signing bonuses too, I understand. Getting a lot of money, 100 million, that's not bad. But that's not as good as the signing bonus we got. We got a $550 billion signing bonus for the country. And we had the tariff at 25%. As you know, we had a tariff at 25%. And these are great people that we negotiated with, but we agreed to reduce it to 15 based on the fact that Japan has agreed for the first time ever to open up its country to trade so that all of our American businesses and business geniuses, including many in this room, can go out and do business openly and freely in Japan, a very rich and prosperous and profitable and wonderful country, frankly. And we will pay a zero tariff as we do business in Japan. So we're paying zero, they're paying 15. We're getting $550 billion. And to be exact, it's 90% of that, but we control the whole lot of it. And it's really been great. And they're very happy, and their stock market went up, and our stock market went up, and that's supposed to be the way it is. Ours went way up, and theirs went up. And we've made numerous other deals like that. But the opening up of a country is very important to us. We have numerous countries that have opened their doors, just made some incredible transactions, but we're going to have a very, very simple tariff for some of the countries. We have so many countries you can't negotiate deals with everyone, so we'll have a straight, simple tariff of anywhere between 15 and 50%. A couple we have 15 because we haven't been getting along with those countries too well, so we just say, let's pay 50, and that's the way it is. But remember, we get countries that were closed, always closed. Everyone in this room would never remember any of them to be open. We've offered such a deal to the European Union where we're in serious negotiations, and if they agree to open up the union to American businesses, then we will let them pay a lower tariff. So the tariff is very important, but the opening of a country, I think, can be more important if our businesses do the job that they're supposed to be doing. Such openings are worthy of many points in tariffs, and they're a good thing, not only for, as an example, Japan or Europe, but certainly a great thing for America because it allows our businesses to go out and fairly compete and do really well if they compete properly, like the people that I know. Everyone in this room practically I know has competed very successfully. I haven't seen any, and I know the losers just like I know the winners. I tell you, I don't see any of the losers here. But now if some of the countries that pay 25% or more on autos complain, remember that Japan was willing to pay upfront the $550 billion for that privilege of negotiating with the United States of America. We also made a deal yesterday with the Philippines and Indonesia, which in both cases will be opening up their country. And we're in the process of completing our deal with China. And as you know, the UK, we made a deal. It was a very good deal for everybody. Everybody's happy. It's always nice when everybody can be happy. But mostly we'll be charging straight tariffs to most of the rest of the world because we have over 200 countries. People don't realize that's a lot of deals. Even if you're like me, a deal junkie, that's a lot of deals. That would be too much for anybody. Ooh. How did we do with this country that I never heard of? We got a lot of deals cooking, but America is taking in hundreds of billions of dollars like it never has before. Investments into our country at the highest point ever in history, and we've just really been opened up for business for 3 of the 6 months. The first couple of months, we got ourselves all set, done a great job with our military. As you know, you saw that 2 weeks ago when you saw the way those incredible B-2s flew into Iran and took out an entire nuclear potential deadly force. But I want to thank some of the incredible people that I see before me, including White House AI czar David Sachs. He's been great for organizing this very important summit, and especially for putting it in D.C., where it's a little bit easier. I don't know if it's easy for you, but it's a hell of a lot easier for me. Along with his colleagues at the All In podcast, which is very good. I did that podcast a year and a half ago, and I said, this is something that was pretty new, pretty raw. Everybody I knew saw that podcast. I said, well, he's got something pretty good. Who is that guy? He's a smart guy, by the way. I think if I ever get in, which at the time people were saying I had a shot, not as good a shot. As it turned out, we won in numbers that nobody believes. We won every swing state. We won by millions and millions of votes, winning the popular vote. We won with the districts, as they would call them, 2,750 to 505. And that's why the map is almost completely red, except for a couple of little blue areas on each side of it. But it was a great experience, frankly, for me, and hopefully it's a great experience and been a great experience for our country, because they're saying we had the greatest 6 months that a president has ever had, the opening 6 months. And I'm not even sure, maybe 6 months, I'm not sure it's the opening, but let's call it the opening 6 months. It sounds a little bit nicer. I want to also say hello and thank to Chamath and his wonderful wife, Nat. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much. It was great seeing you again. Great couple. David Friedberg and even, as we know, Jason Calacanis. I say even. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Jason. I appreciate that. Yeah, he's a good person. Thanks as well to the Hill and Valley Forum and our future Undersecretary of State, Jacob Hellberg. Good work. Good. Stand up, Jason. Good. I met him a year and a half ago, and I was very impressed. I said, let's bring him in. We bring in a lot of smart people. And David's been unbelievable as the job he's doing. Along with Secretaries Doug Burgum, who's been incredible. Doug? Thank you. Thank you, Doug. Great job. He's producing low-cost energy. We're down to $64. I want to get it down a little bit further if we can. I don't know if the oil companies love that or not, but we want to have very inexpensive electricity so that you can power up the plants, because you need more electricity than any human beings ever in the history of the world. When I heard what you really need, I said, you got to be kidding. Double what we produce right now for everything, right? I don't know, you're going to... Jensen, you're going to have to explain that to me someday, why they need so damn much. Could you do with a little bit less? My father always used to say, turn off the lights, son. But you guys are turning up the lights. I want to thank Howard Lutnick for doing a terrific job. He was involved in the big deal that we just completed with Japan. Howard, wherever you are, Howard. Where is Howard? Hi, Howard. Great job you did. Appreciate it. Really, that was an interesting negotiation, wasn't it? These are tough people. These are good negotiators, I will tell you, Japan. But they love their country, and they do what's right for their country. I want to thank Chris Wright, if Chris is around. Chris is here, because he's helping with the tremendous energy success that we're having tremendous energy success. We're the biggest. We have more energy than anybody else in the world. Nobody knew that until I came along, but we have more energy than anybody else in the world. We're making incredible deals on energy, including deals in Alaska. Well, we that's the mother lode, that's the big one, and we're making deals with various Asian countries that need it, and it's actually hard to believe, you don't think of it, but Asia is very close to Alaska, relatively speaking. It's not the closest, but it is pretty much the closest when it comes to oil and gas and energy, and we're making some incredible deals, and I want to thank Chris. Chris is fantastic, works in partnership really with this gentleman who's the head of you've got the land and he's got the energy, right? But they formed a great partnership, Doug. So that's one of the greatest partnerships I've seen in a long time. They work hand in hand and they have done a great job. Administrators, Kelly Loeffler, I think, is here. Kelly, thank you very much. Hi, Kelly. Hi, Kelly. And probably the most important man in the room, and I say it in all sincerity, more important than Doug and Chris and all that energy they're producing. He's a man that produces fast permits on the environmental impact statements. He gets them done. I said, Lee, you have 1 week for nuclear, and you have a couple of days for oil and gas, okay, for the approvals. And we kid, but you know, he really is. He's knocking them out fast. He's knocked out a lot. A lot of you guys have started your plants already, and you've already had your approvals. So where's Lee Zeldin? Is he here? He is so great. This guy, he is so great. That's why he has a slightly better seat than I gave to Doug, you see? He's doing a fantastic job in a lot of ways, but he's doing a great job, and he's getting fast permits, and safe and good and everything else, but he's moving them along rapidly, already given some. And you know, one of the most exciting things we'll talk about in a second is the fact that you're going to build your own electric producing plants when you build whatever you're building. And it's different things, including automobile factories, which are going up all over the place. You'll see them starting soon. They're moving into our country because of the tariffs, because they don't want to pay the tariffs. They're moving into our country at a record speed. But the ability to build your own electric plant, not having to rely on a 100-year-plus old grid. And then if you have electric capacity extra, you're going to sell it into the grid, make some money, but you'll sell it right back into the grid. Director of the Office of Science and Technology Policy, Michael Kratsios. Michael, thank you very much. Thank you, Michael. As well, it's supposed to be taking a vote right now, a big vote. Senator Ted Cruz. Is Senator Cruz here? Oh, look at my senator. Why aren't you voting? I think we lost David McCormick, who's voting. So is David here? Because you're supposed to be voting, Ted. I don't know. I'll tell you what, this man works hard. Ted works hard, and he works good. And a very special thanks to some of the top industry leaders here, including somebody that's amazing. I said, look, we'll break this guy up. This is before I learned the facts of life. I said, we'll break him up. They said, no, sir, it's very hard. I said, why? I said, what percentages of the market does he have? Sir, he has 100%. I said, who the hell is he? What's his name? His name is Jensen Huang, NVIDIA. I said, what the hell is NVIDIA? I've never heard of it before. He said, you don't want to know about it, sir. I figured we could go in and we could sort of break him up a little bit, get him a little competition. And I found out it's not easy in that business. I said, supposing we put the greatest minds together and they work hand in hand for a couple of years. He said, no, it would take at least 10 years to catch him if he ran NVIDIA totally incompetently from now on. So I said, all right, let's go on to the next one. And then I got to know Jensen, and now I see why. Jensen, will you stand up? What a job. What a job you've done. Man. Great. He's a great guy, too. Lisa Su of AMD. Lisa? Thank you. Congratulations. Great job. Sham Sanikar of Palantir. We buy a lot of things from Palantir. Where are you? Are we paying our bills? I think so. We just made a deal with the European Union where they're going to pay the United States of America 100% of the cost of all military equipment. They're going to ship it to the European Union, and then they'll distribute it, and much of it will go to Ukraine. It's been a long time since you've heard those words, because we're in for $350 billion. But now we send it to Europe, and Europe pays, and they were great. We had a tremendous NATO meeting a few weeks ago, and it was pretty amazing, actually, what happened. They agreed to go from 2% to 5%, and they had 2% where they didn't pay. They have 5% where they've already paid. That's a big difference. That's trillions of dollars, actually, trillions. But they're going to spend that money in the United States with our defense companies, and we're going to send it to them, and they'll distribute the equipment that we send. So that's the way it should have been 3 years ago, frankly. And Jeff Sprecher, the other half of that incredible family, is he here? Is he here? He's a fantastic guy, international, intercontinental exchange, and he's been a friend of mine for a long time, the husband of Kelly, who's really doing a good job. You are really doing a good job. Small business, which is actually big business if you add it all up, right? It's probably the biggest bank there is, but they call it small business, and she's done a fantastic job. Thanks, Kel. Say hello to Jeff. As we gather this afternoon, we're still in the earliest days of one of the most important technological revolutions in the history of the world. Around the globe, everyone is talking about artificial intelligence. I find that too. Artificial, I can't stand it. I don't even like the name. You know, I don't like anything that's artificial. So could we straighten that out, please? We should change the name. I actually mean that. I don't like the name artificial anything, because it's not artificial. It's genius. It's pure genius. And its potential to transform every type of human endeavor and domain of human knowledge, from medicine to manufacturing to warfare and national defense. Whether we like it or not, we're suddenly engaged in a fast-paced competition to build and define this groundbreaking technology that will determine so much about the future of civilization itself, because of the genius and creativity of Silicon Valley. And it is incredible. Incredible genius. Without question, the most brilliant place anywhere on earth. America is the country that started the AI race. And as President of the United States, I'm here today to declare that America is going to win it. We're going to work hard. We're going to win it. Because we will not allow any foreign nation to beat us. Our children will not live on a planet controlled by the algorithms, the adversaries advancing values and interests contrary to our own. We don't want to have contrary interests. We want to get along, and we'll get along with other countries. We're having a great relationship, as I told you, with those countries that we mentioned, with Japan and Indonesia and so many others. The European Union, we're getting along very well with China. A lot of respect for President Xi. We have a great relationship, and we'll see how it all works out. But we're getting along with countries it's really been pretty amazing, I will say that, and it's a good thing. It's a good thing, not a bad thing. So from this day forward, it'll be a policy of the United States to do whatever it takes to lead the world in artificial intelligence, such an important thing happening. This is really something that nobody expected. It just popped out of the air, and here we are. But we will defend our nation, our values, our future, and our freedom, and it will be really great. But what we really need to be successful is a very simple phrase called common sense, and that begins with a common sense application of artificial and intellectual property rules. It's so important. You can't be expected to have a successful AI program when every single article, book, or anything else that you've read or studied, you're supposed to pay for. Gee, I read a book, I'm supposed to pay somebody. And you know, we appreciate that, but you just can't do it because it's not doable. And if you're going to try and do that, you're not going to have a successful program. I think most of the people in the room know what I mean. When a person reads a book or an article, you've gained great knowledge. That does not mean that you're violating copyright laws or have to make deals with every content provider. And that's a big thing that you're working on right now, I know, but you just can't do it. China's not doing it, and if you're going to be beating China, and right now we're leading China very substantially in AI, very, very substantially, and nobody's seen the amount of work that's going to be bursting upon the scene. But you have to be able to play by the same set of rules. So when you have something, when you read something, and when it goes into this vast intelligence machine, we'll call it, you cannot expect to every single time say, oh, let's pay this one that much, let's pay this one. It just doesn't work that way. Of course, you can't copy or plagiarize an article, but if you read an article and learn from it, we have to allow AI to use that pool of knowledge without going through the complexity of contract negotiations, of which there would be thousands for every time we use AI. We also have to have a single federal standard, not 50 different states regulating this industry of the future. And some people would say, gee, that's an unpopular thing to say. I was told before I got up here, this is an unpopular thing because some people, they don't want that. But I want you to be successful. And you can't have one state holding you up. You can't have 3 or 4 states holding you up. You can't have a state with standards that are so high that it's going to hold you up. You have to have a federal rule and regulation. Hopefully you'll have the right guy in this position that's going to supplant the states. If you are operating under 50 different sets of state laws, the most restrictive state of all will be the one that rules. So you could have a state run by a crazy governor, a governor that hates you, a governor that's not smart, or maybe a governor that's very smart, but decides that he doesn't like the industry and he can put you out of business because you're going to have to go to that lowest common denominator. We need one common sense federal standard that supersedes all states, supersedes everybody, so you don't end up in litigation with 43 states at one time. You got to go litigation free. It's the only way. And we also have to watch Europe, Asia, and all foreign countries so that they don't make rules and regulations that likewise make it impossible for you to do business, and where you'd have to make everything in AI cater to them, because again, you'd have to cater to the toughest country or to the toughest state. You can't do that because it would ruin it. I just terminated all of the, as an example, California car emissions rules, which were a disaster. It cost them just billions of dollars as an industry, but thousands of dollars per car. The emission rule standard, because they were making the production of an automobile almost impossible and at a tremendously higher cost, much more expensive than it should cost, for very little gain, for actually, in my opinion, negative gain. The automobile was worse. Under this administration, our innovation will be unmatched and our capabilities will be unrivaled. And with the help of many of the people in this room, America's ultimate triumph will be absolutely unstoppable. We will be unstoppable as a nation. Again, we're way ahead and we want to stay that way. We can't let individual smaller units stop it, because that's the only thing that can stop it and can really mess it up. As with any such breakthrough, this technology brings the potential for bad as well as for good, for peril as well as for progress. But the daunting power of AI is it's not going to be a reason for retreat from this new frontier. On the contrary, it is the more reason we must ensure it is pioneered first and best. We have to have the best, the first pioneer. We are the best and the first pioneers, and we're going to be really putting a nation that we love, America, we're going to be putting it first. I have an expression, America first, make America great again. A lot of great expressions, but they're all so true. To make America great again, we're going to make this industry absolutely the top, because right now it's a beautiful baby that's born. We have to grow that baby and let that baby thrive. We can't stop it. We can't stop it with politics. We can't stop it with foolish rules and even stupid rules. At the same time, we want to have rules, but they have to be smart. They have to be brilliant. They have to be more brilliant than even the technology itself. Surely there will be challenges on the path ahead, but together we will meet them and transcend them all. We are Americans, and we are Americans first. I have a couple of people I know that don't happen to be from here, but I wish you a lot of luck anyway. I'm looking at 3 people that are not Americans, but they're very good people. Please treat them nicely. But we do not shrink from the future or cower in the face of uncertainty. We dominate the future. We conquer new frontiers, and we control our own fate, and we determine by doing that our own destiny. Winning this competition will be a test of our capacities unlike anything since the dawn of the space age. I believe that. It's hard to believe as the president, the amount of enthusiasm for this one industry. I mean, I can talk about cars where we're doing incredibly well. We have car companies moving in all the time, but I talk about other industries. Everybody's saying this is going to dominate the world. It's going to dominate every industry that ever conceived. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if it's true, but I can tell you that a lot of very brilliant people think it is true. It'll dominate everything. It will challenge us to marshal all of our strength and flex the muscles of American ingenuity and resolve like probably never before. It will require us to blast through obsolete systems, cut through thickets of regulation. We've got to get rid of some of the regulation, but we want good regulation and rebuild the industrial bedrock of our country. And perhaps most importantly, winning the AI race will demand a new spirit of patriotism and national loyalty in Silicon Valley and long beyond Silicon Valley.
Can we ask you about the lawsuits of the DOJ filed?
Those young people, they just said too much winning. Too much winning, sir, they know it. And it is a lot of winning. We had the best 6 months ever. We're now heading to Scotland. I'm meeting with the Prime Minister of UK. Some of you are going, I guess, and a lot of you aren't. Are you going? Huh? Well, you got to get moving. That's a good one. That's going to be a good one. So we have great numbers we just announced. I don't have to go over it because you've seen them, but we have great economic numbers. The deal with Japan is amazing. You give us $550 billion, and we have totally open access into Japan. Those numbers are great. I mean, the kids actually just said, very, very cute, actually. I walked up, they said, sir, there's too much winning. They picked up on a little routine, you know. Go ahead.
Mr. President, can I ask you about the DOJ lawsuit that you just filed yesterday against New York City and Mayor Adams? In the lawsuit, they named the CBP officer that was officer who was shot. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's DOJ going against New York, but we're going against a lot of other places, too. We want to bring safety to our cities, but that's going to be a pretty routine filing with other cities, too. As you know, we've started numerous lawsuits with other cities. We want to bring safety. We've got to get the criminals out, and we're doing it in record numbers.
Sir,
are you hoping Todd Blanche gets...
giving up on Gaza in negotiations?
Yeah, Gaza, they pulled out of Gaza. They pulled out in terms of negotiating. It was too bad. Hamas didn't really want to make a deal. I think they want to die, and it's very, very bad.
Are you done with
And it got to be to a point where you're going to have to finish the job. They really, they asked for things. Don't forget, we got a lot of hostages out. So now we're down to the final hostages, and they know what happens after you get the final hostages. And basically, because of that, they really didn't want to make a deal. I saw that. So they pulled out, and they're going to have to fight, and they're going to have to clean it up. You're going to have to get rid of it.
What are you hoping Todd Blanche gets out of his meetings with Ghislaine Maxwell?
Well, I don't know about the meeting. I know it's taking place, and he's a fantastic man. He's a great attorney, and people should really focus on how well the country's doing, or they should focus on the fact that Barack Hussein Obama led a coup, or they should focus on the fact that Larry Summers from Harvard, that Bill Clinton, who you know very well, and lots of other friends, really close friends of Jeffrey Summers, should be spoken about. because, you know, Jeffrey Epstein should be spoken about, and they should speak about them, because they don't talk about them, they talk about me. I have nothing to do with the guy.
Are you considering
Easy.
will you do any business deals with the UK?
Yeah, I'm going to meet with the Prime Minister right now. We're going to be over there in about 6 hours. We're meeting with the Prime Minister tonight. We're going to be talking about the trade deal that we made and maybe even improve it.
Are you considering clemency for Ghislaine Maxwell? Are you considering clemency for Ghislaine Maxwell, sir?
I saw homeless people sleeping right outside the gates of the White House. Are you concerned about that?
I think it's terrible, and we'll have them removed immediately. We do remove it. We've got to get the mayor to run this city properly. This city has to be run. You know, I have the right to take it over, and I think it's terrible. Where are they? Where did you see them?
Just right outside on Pennsylvania Avenue.
Near the Treasury.
Right across the street from Lafayette Park, near the Treasury. President, have you heard about Todd Blanchard's interview with Ghislaine Maxwell? And would you pardon or clemency for Ghislaine?
Well, I don't want to talk about that. What I do want to say is that Todd is a great attorney, but you ought to be speaking about Larry Summers. You ought to be speaking about some of his friends that are hedge fund guys. They're all over the place. You ought to be speaking about Bill Clinton, who went to the island 28 times. I never went to the island.
Do you maintain you did not write a letter for Jeffrey Epstein's birthday?
I don't even know what they're talking about. Now, somebody could have written a letter and used my name, but that's happened a lot. All you have to do is take a look at the dossier, the fake dossier. Everything's fake with that administration. Everything's fake with the Democrats. Take a look at what they just found about the dossier. Everything is fake. They're a bunch of sick people. Where did you see the people laying outside? Exactly?
Right across the street from Lafayette Park, sir, towards 15.
We'll take care of it.
Are you hoping to meet with President Putin for bringing hostages home? What are the alternative methods to bring hostages home?
Well, we got a lot of them out, and it's I've always said those last 10 or 20 are going to be the toughie, because Hamas knows what happens when they don't have any bargaining chip. And they really broke a deal. They broke a deal, and you're going to have to do what you have to do right now. It's a terrible thing. And I always knew that. I said, when you get down to the last one, they're not going to be able to make a deal.
Would you consider a pardon or a commutation for Ghislaine Maxwell if she
It's something I haven't thought about. It's really something. It's something I'm allowed to do it, but it's something I have not thought about.
But you wouldn't rule it out, sir?
Why has the dollar fallen so much, and are you concerned about that?
Well, you know, I'm a person that likes a strong dollar, but a weak dollar makes you a hell of a lot more money. Hate to tell you, I don't know if you study it, but I study it. And if you look at the yen,
I went to Penn and worked, so I know this.
You understand?
Absolutely.
Oh, you did go to Penn.
I went to work, yes,
well,
sir.
that means you're a smarter guy than I even thought, and I know you're smart. So when we have a strong dollar, one thing happens. It sounds good. But you don't do any tourism. You can't sell tractors. You can't sell trucks. You can't sell anything. It is good for inflation. That's about it. And we have no inflation. We've wiped out inflation. But it's an interesting question. So I will never say I like a low currency, but you remember the battles I had with the yuan, with China and with Japan, Japan being the yen. They always wanted a weak currency. They're trying to get a weak currency now. Now, it doesn't sound good, but you make a hell of a lot more money with a weaker dollar. Not a weak dollar, but a weaker dollar than you do with a strong dollar. And the first people that are going to notice it are the manufacturers of trucks and various other things. Like, look at Caterpillar, how well they're doing now. When you have a strong dollar, you can't sell anything. It's only good for inflation, and it's good psychologically. It makes you feel good. But with that being said, I love strong dollars, but you make your money with a currency. And I had so many different fights with President Xi, between Japan and China. All they want to do is have a weak currency. They're always fighting for a weak currency. And that's how they really dominated over the years. So when I see it down there, I don't lose sleep over it, let's put it that way. In fact, sometimes I go to sleep very happy. You understand? Do you agree with me?
I agree with a lot of what you said, Mr. President. Do you think it makes it any easier to impose your tariff with that lower dollar? Because the
I think it makes it easier even for tariffs, yeah. And it makes the tariffs worth much more. And it's easier to pay off debt. And it's easier to get a low interest rate, too. There are a lot of good things. It's hard to explain to people the headline, Trump wants a weak dollar. It's not a weak dollar. You take a look at the history of China over the last 20 years, all they do is fight for a weak currency. Look at Japan when they were really doing well. They had a very weak currency. So to me, I just say, thank you very much. It is what it is.
President, what's your comment on ceasefire? Have you given up on a Gaza ceasefire?
Well, the Gaza situation, and I said this was going to happen when you get down to your last 10 or 20. We got a lot of hostages out. We took them out in numbers that nobody believed, a lot of them. And I said, when you get down to 10 or 20, I don't think Hamas is going to make a deal because that means they have no protection. And basically, that's what happened. Hamas didn't want to make a deal.
Have you seen that photo?
I think what's going to happen is they're going to be hunted down.
Secondary sanctions sooner on Russia. Are you closer today to secondary sanctions?
We're looking at that whole situation. It could be that we'll have to put secondary sanctions on there.
Sooner than 50 days?
Maybe, yeah.
Do you think it's counterproductive? What would be counterproductive?
Who are you with? Who are you with?
Scripps News.
Oh, good.
Counterproductive to France, for France to say that they would recognize the Palestinian state. Macron said that yesterday.
Look, he's a different kind of a guy. He's okay. He's a team player, pretty much. But here's the good news: what he says doesn't matter. You know, it's not going to change it. Well, he made a statement. France, Macron. His statement doesn't carry any weight. He's a very good guy. I like him, but that statement doesn't carry weight.
How important is the trade deal with the EU?
I would say that we have a 50-50 chance, maybe less than that, but a 50-50 chance of making a deal with the EU. And it'll be a deal where they have to buy down their tariffs, because they're right now at 30%. And they'll have to buy them down, maybe, or they could leave them the way they are. But they want to make a deal very badly. I would have said we have a 25% chance with Japan, and they kept coming back and we made a deal, and the deal is, don't forget, Japan's putting up $550 billion. It's a lot of money. And also paying tariffs. The biggest part of the Japan deal, and maybe we get this with EU, maybe we don't, is that we have the right to go in and trade. We have the right. They've totally opened Japan to just to the U.S. That's, to me, the biggest part of the deal.
What level of tariff are you looking for?
Nuclear disarmament. You said repeatedly you would like to see further nuclear arms reductions between the United States and Russia.
I would like to see that.
But the New START treaty is expiring in about 6 months, and it cannot be legally extended.
That's a problem. That's a problem for the world.
Create a new one.
It's a problem for the world. You know, we have restrictions, and they have restrictions, as you know, on nuclear. That's not an agreement you want expiring. We're starting to work on that, but that is a big problem for the world. When you take off nuclear restrictions, that's a big problem for the world.
What level of tariff are you looking for? President?
I think that Jerome Powell, I think we had a very good meeting. Forgetting about the building, that's out of control and all that. But I think we had a very good meeting on interest rates. And he said to me, now I don't know if he's going to say this on Thursday or whenever he speaks, but he said to me very strongly, the country is doing well. He said, congratulations, the country is doing really well. And I got that to mean that I think he's going to start recommending lower rates.
Because of that conversation?
How do you think that the Supreme
The country really is doing well.
Mr. President, how do you think that
record business?
Did you speak to
Wait 1 second.
Netanyahu?
Thank you, Mr. President. How do you think that the Supreme Court's ruling that benefited you on presidential immunity would apply to former President Barack Obama and what you're accusing him of doing?
It probably helps him a lot. Probably helps him a lot, the immunity ruling. But it doesn't help the people around him at all. But it probably helps him a lot. He's done criminal acts, there's no question about it. But he has immunity, and it probably helps him a lot.
A trade agreement you're looking to sign too.
He owes me big. Obama owes me big.
What are the details in the UK trade agreement you're hoping to fine-tune with the Prime Minister
This week we want to talk about certain aspects which is going to be good for both countries. More fine-tuning, and also we're going to do a little celebrating together because, you know, we got along very well. UK's been trying to make a deal with us for like 12 years and haven't been able to do it. We got it done. He's doing a very good job, good Prime Minister, good guy. We really get along very well. So we're going to meet at Turnberry and we're going to meet at Aberdeen. So two beautiful places.
Is there wiggle room in steel and aluminum if they were to budge on digital services tax?
Say it.
Is there any wiggle room on steel and aluminum in exchange for any budge on digital services tax?
Not a lot, because if I do it for one, I have to do it for all. So on that, steel and aluminum, not a lot.
Can you speak to Netanyahu about aid drops?
Sorry, Michelle, go ahead.
Mr. President, did you speak to Netanyahu about allowing aid drops in Gaza from Arab countries?
Yeah, I speak to him, but I can't tell you what I spoke to him about. But it was sort of disappointing, although I told you. I told you, when you get down to those last 20 hostages, you get down to that last 10 or 20, it's going to be very hard for Hamas to make a deal because they lose their shield, they lose their cover. We got a lot of them out, a lot of them. We took a lot of bodies out, too. You know, so many of the parents said, please get my son's body back. And we're able to do that. We got a lot of people out, live and people that are not alive. But it was very important to the parents to get their son back, even though they knew their son was dead.
Are you going to be able to get the Open Championship back to Turnberry?
I think they will do that, yeah. They want Turnberry is rated the #1 course in the world. I think they'll do that, yeah.
And are you going to talk to anybody
No,
about
I'm
that?
not going to. It's not about that. I'm going to see it for the first time in years. You were there the last time we went. That's pretty good, right? No, it's the best resort in the world, I think, at Turnberry, and it's one of the greatest courses in the world. We're going to see it. We're going to have, I believe, dinner at Turnberry with the Prime Minister. Then we're going to go to the oil capital of Europe, which is Aberdeen, and we're going to have lunches there. We're going to have a good time. I think the Prime Minister and I get along very well.
And you're going to see the Scottish leader too, right? Swinney, John
I am.
Swinney?
I am.
What's that about?
Well, we have a lot of things in Scotland. I have a lot of love. My brother was born in Scotland, and he's a good man. The Scottish leader's a good man, so I look forward to meeting him. That's all set up, right?
Paris Day is exactly 1 week from today, August the 1st. What do you expect between now and next Friday as it relates to your deadline?
When you say tariff, not Paris.
Paris.
Tariff. I think you said. I thought you said Paris Day.
No, Paris Day.
Well, most of the deals are finished right now. They're finished because we're just going to charge a certain tariff. A lower tariff that I could get. I don't want to hurt countries. But we're going to send a letter out sometime during the week. And it's basically going to say you're going to pay 10%, you're going to pay 15%, you're going to pay maybe less. I don't know. But Australia was great. They opened up beef yesterday for the first time ever. And they did it. We didn't know about it. We asked them to do it, and all of a sudden we got a word that they wanted. So obviously they're looking to do something. But Australia. So August 1st is going to come, and we will have most of our deals finished, if not all. We haven't really had a lot of luck with Canada. I think Canada could be one where they'll just pay tariffs. Not really a negotiation. We're working very diligently with Europe, the EU, which covers a lot of territory, a lot of countries, and that's the big one right now. We have the confines of a deal with China, but we haven't really. We don't have a deal with Canada. We haven't been focused on it.
When you send out those letters, Mr. President, when you send out those letters, do you believe that will bring some certainty to the financial markets? Because then they will know.
No, when those letters go out, they're a page and a half. That means they have a deal. It's done. They pay that tariff, and that is a contract essentially. And they can come into the country. They're going to pay a tariff. I'm going to keep it minimal. I'm going to keep it. I'm not looking to hurt countries. I could do that too, but I'm not looking to do that. But when that letter goes out, that's a deal. And we'll be sending maybe close to 200 of those letters out. Don't forget, we have a lot of countries. So we're going to be sending out almost 200 of those letters. But once those letters go out, there we have a deal. Now, we sent one to Japan, we sent one to EU, and they came back and negotiated a deal. I think EU has got a pretty good chance of making a deal.
With all of that revenue coming in, Mr. President,
A lot of money.
A lot of money.
Our country was a dead country. It was a dead country 1 year ago. Now we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. And don't you feel it?
Mr. President, with all of that revenue coming in, tens of billions of dollars, do you think there's the possibility of a rebate to the American public in terms of all of that money?
We're thinking about that, actually. We have so much money coming in, we're thinking about a little rebate, but the big thing we want to do is pay down debt. But we're thinking about a rebate. That's a very good question. You just made a lot of news. We're thinking about a rebate because we have so much money coming in from tariffs that a little rebate for people of a certain income level might be very nice. Being blocked by a lot of people. People don't know this, and we didn't certainly get any acknowledgement or thank you, but we contributed $60 million to food and supplies and everything else. We hope the money gets there, because, you know, that money gets taken, the food gets taken. We're going to do more, but we gave a lot of money. We gave a majority of the money, and the sad part is that no other country other than us gives anything.
Have you spoken to Michael Walkley about running for that North Carolina?
I have, yeah.
And will he run, do you think?
I think he will.
There are teacher shortages, so what can be done to get...
Are you from North Carolina?
My father lives there.
He'll be a good candidate.
So what can be done to bring more teachers, more educators into the classroom to alleviate the teacher shortage across the country?
We're doing that, and we're doing it strongly. What we're doing is moving education back to the states. The states will run education. When they do it, you're going to have the best education in the world. We'll have 35 or 40 states where it will be as good as Sweden, Norway, Denmark, you know, the top 5 or 6 countries.
How do you attract the top talent, the top teachers to get into the classroom?
We're going to get them. We already have them. When we go back to the states with education, you're going to see a big difference.
Mr. President, the